Ed McCaffrey, 13 years in the NFL with the Giants. The regular season kind of winding down here, and teams getting ready for the playoffs, including the Eagles and the Cowboys, something we're obviously taking a closer look at. A lot of key matchups. Joining us right now to discuss the final couple of weeks of the regular seasons leading into the playoffs and how to make sure to the ticket you buy is the real deal if you're planning to see your favorite team play live is former NFL wide receiver, 3-time Super Bowl champion Ed McCaffrey here on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Ed, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
We're doing good, and you are a perfect guy to be in our conversation today. We're talking about, like, tickets and going to games. We've been talking about that, and we're also getting ready for Eagles, Cowboys, and Carson Wentz. And you being a guy who played wide receiver, really would like to pick your brain about how long the timing for a wide receiver and a quarterback. I mean, Wentz has had so many different weapons this year, so many different weapons is being kind, I think, so many different wide receivers. How long did it take you to kind of get in sync with the quarterback when you had to keep, if you had to switch teams or when you got to camp?
It does take a little bit of time, especially if you're switching systems. So, that's why when I was in Denver, calling games for the Broncos, I watched Peyton Manning come to town, and he would take players after practice and work with them over and over and over again, sometimes running the same route 50 times in a row after practice just to get it right. And then he would obviously be, he's famous for bringing players on vacations with him during the off season and working out on a field for 3 or 4 days to get to know each other and get that timing down with the route runners. And best quarterbacks know that. The best quarterbacks know they have to be in sync with their receivers. They have to know him inside and out. That receiver's got to be where he's got to be when he's got to be there. And the quarterback's going to throw the ball before he's out of his break. And also the quarterback kind of needs to know the skill set of the receiver. Like, can he win a 50-50 ball? Where do I have to put it to make sure it doesn't get picked off? How quickly can I release it when he's coming out of a break, or does he take longer than another guy? Or, the speed of the receiver, get a feel for that. So there's a lot of work that goes into it. The guys that are the best in the business make it look easy, like Drew Brees the other day, right? Just makes it look easy. It's not easy. It takes a lot of hard work, and so it doesn't happen overnight.
So when we hear this term of, like, the quarterback needs to elevate the players around them, how difficult is that to do if the receiver is not really capable?
It's hard. Yeah, I mean, the quarterback can do his job, and he can play the best that he can play. But I'd like to think, as a former wide receivers can make quarterbacks look a whole lot better also. I mean, watch NFL games and how many plays came down to somebody just making a play. Not every ball's thrown perfectly. Randy Moss did it so well, we refer to it as being mossed, right? Mm-hmm. If you just jump over a DB and catch the ball, well, there's a lot of games where the quarterback throws it up there, the receiver makes a play, or he dives and picks one off the ground before it hits the turf, or, he's got one arm pinned behind his back and makes a one-arm catch. So, you see those plays, but also sometimes you don't always appreciate the craftsmanship of receivers getting open, of running backs making a guy miss, of having balance on offense to make things easier for the quarterback, of having good protection. So the quarterback, it all goes through the quarterback. It goes through the coach, the play caller, the quarterback, but that quarterback can't do it alone. This is a team sport, and he needs guys around and make plays. So he can do his job, but you're not winning championships without guys around you.
Well, and I guess it's kind of tough for you to relate. I mean, you played with Steve Young in the greatest quarterback season maybe of all time, and John Elway. So that's kind of hard to say. Well, I had some tough quarterbacks I had to help out.
Well, I played with 4 quarterbacks that won Super Bowls. So in New York, I played with Phil Simms and Jeff Hostetler, and they had both won Super Bowls. And, talk about getting used to quarterback. I was a rookie, came into the New York Giants organization, and their leading wide receiver, it was Stephen Baker and Mark Ingram, Mark Ingram's dad, the running back for the Baltimore Ravens. And they had 26 catches apiece on the season. So I looked the other day and looked at some of the receivers that had 20. I think Julio Jones might have had 20 targets. We're talking 26 catches on the season to give you an idea of the passing game then versus today.
Sounds like the Eagles right now.
But then I remember in New York, I dropped a pass by Phil Simms on my birthday in the preseason and thought I was going to get cut on the spot. And it took a while. And then there's 2 quarterbacks going in and out. It took a while to get chemistry there, and that's probably why we went 8-8 and then 6-10, and then neither one of those guys was with the team. Neither was I. And then you move on to greener pastures. So, I get it. When you have injuries to your key players, let's be real. The starters are starters for a reason. Either they're better and more talented players, or they've been in the system longer and there's a better rapport, and they have a more grasp of what you're asking them to do than the guy behind them. And so when you have those changes, especially during the season, and the worst case is during a game, right, because they haven't got the reps in practice, it affects what you're doing.
Real quick, before we let you run, we've been talking about tickets and going to games and fans, how can they can get access to tickets if fans are trying to get tickets. We know that it's been more than ever, tickets are different than the way we just used to get a ticket stub. How can we find ourselves going to see our favorite teams play and making sure we get real tickets?
Yeah, it's real simple. Just go to the NFL Ticket Exchange. It's at Ticketmaster.com/NFL, Ticketmaster.com/NFL.
Ed McCaffrey, 13 years, 3 Super Bowls, and kind enough to join us here on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Ed, thanks so much.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me.
Short time, great info, though, about, by the way, played with Elway. We talked yesterday, Ryan. Remember you asked the question about Lamar Jackson having the greatest quarterback season of all time.
Yeah.
And the one we threw out there was Steve Young, 94. Well, one of his best targets on that team was I wouldn't say one of his best targets. I mean, he was
involved.
He was on the team, but he wasn't the top receiver. I mean, they had a guy named Rice on that team.
Yeah, I've heard of him too. Yep.
So he was Elway's favorite target for a while, though.
Yeah, definitely.
pretty
That
cool.
was the prime of his career when he played with the Broncos, if I'm not mistaken. Best seasons?
They were his best seasons,
That's
but I
what I
mean, it
should
was
say.
deep into his career. Remember, he didn't really get off the ground until he went to Denver, and then
Right.
he really took off in 98, 99, when they really started to get good there.
Mm-hmm.
He really got good at that time, too. But the 3 years with the Giants, he was okay. He had 49 catches, 610, 5 touchdowns. The 1 year with the 49ers, only there 1 year,
Right.
11 for 131. And then after that, he went to the Broncos. He had 39 catches, 48 catches, 45 catches. Then all of a sudden, 64 for 10 touchdowns, 71, 7 touchdowns, 101, 9 touchdowns. I mean, he really blossomed
Late
in that
bloomer.
3 year. Yeah. Not his son, though.
How about that Stephen Baker?
Touchdown maker.
Stephen Baker, the touchdown maker.
That's right.
I think I once drove past him because when I lived in Connecticut, a lot of the Giants would live in Connecticut. And I remember a red Ferrari one day driving by me with the license plate TD Maker.
Yeah.
And I was like, I bet you that's Stephen Baker.
Subtle.
Yeah.
A red Ferrari with a custom license
Well,
plate.
I gotta tell you,
TD
if you live in
Baker.
Connecticut, it's not that crazy to see on the Merritt Parkway. A lot of luxury cars
I
and
bet.
sports cars. Yeah.